Hi, welcome back to the channel. Got myself a new lighting system. Is that good enough for you lot? That's the question. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's have some fun. Let's hang out. So, what should we talk about? Well, I think it's something that most of us concern ourselves with on a daily basis. How we look. And what your look says about you. We all have our own look. We all like to do our hair a certain way. We all like to look or embody a certain uniform. I say uniform. I use that term loosely. Mainly because I believe, from what I've seen, now you might think completely different, but I think that the 2020s are possibly, and I would argue this, are possibly the most boring one. It's so boring for fashion wear. What would you say? What do you think? Do you think that's right? That we're living in an era that's quite boring for fashion wear? I think it depends on where you are. For me, personally, the area which I live in, many of the guys around here kind of dress the same. It's all tracksuits, hoodies, beards. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that look. But it is kind of like the norm, and it's kind of like the mainstream. It's all there is, really. And there's me with long blonde hair, which isn't something you see every day in this area. Now, if I venture to the cities, it's a bit different. If I go to London or Birmingham, no one really bats an eyelid. But of course, around here, it's a bit different. So I want to ask you this, and I want you to think about this. Just have a little think to yourself. Would you consider a guy with long hair an alternative look? Part of alternative fashion? Would you consider a guy like myself with long hair an alternative look? Just have a little think. Yeah, I'm going to comment, I'm going to answer. Just have a little think. Do you? I do. Definitely. Because it isn't the norm. And we all know what the norm is. And having long hair strays away from the norm. So, no, it isn't the norm. But I think there has been a shift in alternative wear. And some alternative fashions have become the mainstream. They're not so much shocking as they are profitable and marketable. Long hair, not so much. It's not something that's really catching on. Not that I expect it to, but it's not a trend that's really going anywhere. There's not many people that, there isn't many people who are interested in long hair, not many guys anyway. I dare say you may be watching this, you may have long hair yourself. That may be why you've clicked on, to check out a fellow long-haired guy. Maybe that's what it is. But if you are watching this with long hair, we're kind of a minority, and that's okay. But alternative wear, in some ways, has become the new norm. When you see a goth, does it shock you? Does it? Are you like, oh my god? No, not really. Of course you're not, because it's quite common now. You see them a lot. Maybe in 10 years' time, many guys will have long hair, and it will no longer be shocking. And again, it isn't everywhere. Certain areas. Like say if I want to venture out to London, not so much. It's in certain areas where long hair is more obscure. I think most of us have a look, whatever that might be. It could be the complete alien look to mine. But most of us have a look. We have something we identify with. And is your look alternative or is it mainstream? And I want to talk about how your look says an awful lot about you. People can perceive quite a lot from you, from your look, before they even really know you, because all they can go on is what they've seen. So they go on what you look like, and when you have long hair, it's hit and miss. It can go one of two ways. Some people will compliment it, other people will kind of poke fun of it and use it as something to have a dig at. So if you are growing your hair out or you're thinking about having long hair, bear in mind, it can go one of two ways. Not everybody is going to like it, not everybody is going to applaud it. Some people won't. Some people will get very, very vindictive about it. And it happens quite a lot. Sometimes it's quite funny actually. It's not always negative, it's not always doom and gloom. Sometimes it's quite funny. I had a situation the other day where two guys were literally like, they'd never seen the like. Literally a guy with long hair and they were completely dumbstruck by it in 2026. And that's what I mean. Do you think that in decade after decade after decade after decade after decade that much has really changed? Fashion wise, that in 2026 a guy having long hair is still considered something, is still considered shocking in this day and age. Maybe 40, 50 years ago, but in this day and age, do you really think that long hair should be something on a guy that's shocking? Because believe me, it's still, compared to some alternative fashions in this day and age, long hair is nothing. But believe me, some people are still very shocked at having long hair. So, like I say, if you are thinking about growing your hair, bear that in mind. Some will use it as an excuse to poke fun at and have a dig. In a way, you kind of, and you are kind of putting a target on your back in a way, a roundabout way. I'm going somewhere with this, so just hang on. You kind of know what you're doing. You kind of know people are going to look. It's strange that they do. Don't get me wrong, it's a bit silly that they do. But you know that's going to happen. You know guys are going to look at you. And they'll be like... I mean, I've got so many stories of where my hair has become a point of contention when I've been out and about. You know, I think that deserves a video all in itself, the amount of times that's happened. I can't think of them all now, but there's been that's because there's been so many times when it has become a point of contention, having long hair, and people use it as something to poke fun at and to be saying about. But if you persist with it, it doesn't really matter. But it is something to think about, and it's how we don't really accept alternative looks in their entirety. And what do I mean by that? Well, if having long hair is something that can become a point of contention, just imagine if there's another way you wanted to dress, something that was completely alternative. Aside from my hair aside, how I dress isn't particularly that different. It's the hair alone, really, that stands out. If I was to have short hair, there'd be very little about my look that would be alternative. But, you know, you might be watching this, you may wear some completely off the Richter scale clothes. You know, you might be wearing something completely different. And again, I think it depends where you are. If you're in London or somewhere like that, you could be wearing something completely different. Something that, you know, I think in certain areas people are allowed to experiment a bit more with what they wear and how they dress. They're not so confined to a narrative or a norm. Norm, we'll stick with that word, a norm. I don't think people are so confined to that in certain areas, opposed to others. Like example, for where I live, in some suburb where most people look the same. Uniform mentality. You might be part of that. Again, it's not all bad. If you want to, you know, for years I looked like everybody else. I dressed the same as everybody else. I had my hair the same as everybody else. I wanted to look like everybody else. I wanted to fit into that cliche look of what every other guy was wearing. And I was like that for a long time. And then I got to a point where I thought, sod it. I'm going to look how I want. I want long hair. I'm going to grow my hair long. Not everybody likes it. Not everybody encouraged me to do it. But I did it anyway. So what are you going to do? How do you like to look? We're just thinking it out. We're just talking about it. We're just talking about fashions and what's considered more acceptable than other fashions. In 2026, long hair can still look strange on a bloke. It's not particularly. You don't see it all the time. So obviously, some people are a bit took aback by it. But again, it's a double-edged sword. Some people will like it and compliment it, and there's been many people. It's not all bad. There's been many people who have done that. But there is the other side of the coin. There's many people who use it as an excuse to have a go, to pick a fight, whatever. It can go one or two ways, and you bear that in mind. But funny story. When I started growing my hair out, it's 3 years ago now it was, two of my friends at the time, who I still am in contact with, were, what do you want to grow your hair for? What do you want to do that? It looks silly, word. And at the time it did. It didn't, you know, you go, I've talked about this briefly in another video, you go through stages where your hair will look silly and you'll think about getting it cut. And then you persevere, and then it looks good. But I digress. So, two of my friends kind of made fun of it, and like, what do you want to do that for? And then when they seen actually it can look quite nice, and it can look good, both of them now want to grow the hair. One's in the process of doing it, the other one's thinking about it, but still kind of like, oh, shouldn't I? You know, I'm getting away from the matrix if I have long hair. You know, it's absolutely, you know, in this day and age. But it goes to show you that you could want to do something. You could want to do something different. Only something as silly as growing hair, or something, you know, whatever. I don't know. But you could want to do something just that bit different. Okay, people might look at you when you say, like, you've got two heads. But you might want to try out certain things, try out certain looks, and you think it looks silly. And then you try it out. And it looks good. And then you encourage other people to do it as well. But you got to take the first step, you see. You got to think, right, I'm going to do it. And it's taking that first step. Just something as simple as that. Just changing the way you look a bit. Just something really silly. again, not everybody's going to compliment it. Not everybody's going to say, oh, that looks great. Some people can say, oh, it looks silly. Whatever. You're going to get criticism, whatever you do. But as long as you like it, then that's really all that matters. And that's why alternative wear, in many ways, is a good thing. Because it provides the opportunity for people to try out what they want, what they like. Not everybody has to understand it or like it. Not everybody has to. But people need to do that to a degree. Otherwise, it is a uniform mentality and everybody looks the same. And believe me, I generally think the 2020s for guys is a very boring time. In many ways. You might think I'm completely wrong. Again, it's just this is what I think. You might think something completely different. That's what this is about. Differences of opinion. You don't have to agree with everything I say. But that's just what I think. Do you think that though? What do you think about this era? Just have a think. Just sit with it. Chill. Have a think. Do you think this era is quite boring for men in fashion? Again, it depends where you are. But if you're in a little suburb area, like myself, suburban area, you're probably in the same situation I am, where one look is kind of the rule of the day and everybody looks the same. And anything that's slightly different to that is kind of mocked and shunned. So what do you think? Are you into alternative fashion? Or do you like the norm? Which again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's whatever you think. It's whatever you prefer. That's the whole thing about it. It's all about personal choice. What you prefer, what I prefer, that's all that matters. It's not about a collective. Not really. It's about individuality. But again, when you look at mainstream stuff, now tell me, I might be talking at the top of my hat, but do you think 9 times out of 10, we're just thinking hypothetically, but do you think 9 times out of 10 it pushes the same narrative, the same look? What do you think? Just throwing that out there. It kind of does, doesn't it? Well, I think anyway. You might, again, I don't know. But it kind of does, in my opinion. It tends to always be the same. It tends to always be the same. I'm not saying everybody should start dressing like a goth or a punk. I'm not saying that. These are just, again, them 2 examples of what I would consider alternative looks. But they're also looks that have become very marketable and very fashionable and are not so shunned as they would have been in a gone by era. Because I'll tell you, there's more chance. Actually, I don't know where I'm going this actually, but there's more chance that I would get looks now than a goth. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it's there. I'd argue that. I'd put it to the test. Because it's an alternative look that's become quite mainstream. Another thing you have to bear in mind is because of the fast-paced world in which we live now. And it's a very fast-paced world with the influx of social media. Fashions really don't get a chance to establish themselves now. You can't really sit with a fashion and establish yourself with it. in previous times, fashions would come in, and this is pre-social media. Fashions would come in, and they'd have chance to evolve, establish themselves. People would get to grips with them, and they'd fade out eventually. But it would take it would span over a much longer space of time. Whereas with social media now and all these trends, after 1 week it's out the door, something else comes in, another trend will come in. So it's a much quicker pace. So what was fashionable 2 weeks ago is no longer fashionable. Could be exaggerating right there, but at the same time I'm not really exaggerating. It's one of them. We're having one of those. You know, am I exaggerating, or is that close to the truth? You know, again, these are questions for you. Things for you to think about. Do you think that people are too quick to run with fashion? I'm doing it because them are doing it. Well, I haven't got long hair, so I'm not going to have long hair. I suppose it comes down to what side of the field are you on. Are you with the crowd or away from it? I suppose that's what it comes down to when it comes to your fashion. Are you happy with your fashion, or would you like to explore in your fashion? Try out new things? Because I personally believe you should never be assimilated into uniform mentality. That's what I think. Again, this is what I think. I don't want people up in arms and telling me on this, that and the other. This is what I think. You can think something completely different. But I think it'd be quite boring. And again, I'm just thinking out loud. But I think it would be quite boring just to go through your adolescence, 20s, into your early 30s even, and just look the same. That's what I personally think. It'd be quite boring just to do that. Just to go through those years and look exactly the same, and not really experiment with it or alter it in any way. Just look the same through that period of time. That's why I decided to grow my hair. Because to be honest with you, 10 years ago I would have been the same as everybody else. I'm not going to grow my hair. Oh, that's not for me. That's silly. I remember even thinking things like that. And there we are, sporting this look. 10 years on. And that's what I'm saying. What you think at one period of time, 5-10 years later, you can think something completely different. So you might not be ready to alter your look yet. You might think, oh God, what is he talking about? Oh, I'm happy with the way I look, and that's great. But in a few years, you might think completely different about the way you look. It happens. I'm telling you. What you think at one age, you probably won't think in 5 years. Always changing, always evolving. That's what we do. And that's why I wanted to come on and do this short video about today. I just want to talk a bit about how your look can really define you. And that's a good and bad thing. Again. Because not everybody's going to love it or go along with it. It all depends. It's all subjective. Not everybody's going to like it. Some people will hate it. Others will love it. But again, all that really matters is what you think about how you look. And if these videos are to do anything, if these channels really to do anything, it's just to make people think of it. If anything, that's what this. If this channel amounts to anything, that's what it's about. It's just to make people think, bit slightly differently than they did 20 minutes before they clicked on the video. Just think a tiny bit different. We'll see if things have a from a slightly different perspective. Again, you can completely disagree. The comments are open. You're more than welcome to comment and tell me how wrong I am. Or you're more than welcome to comment and tell me how great I am and how brilliant it is. Who knows? But it's something to think about. Have you looked exactly the same in the past 5 years? Have you changed your look at all? Would you like to change your look, but worried that, not everyone's going to like it? Have you been wearing the same dress wear for the past 2 years? Maybe you want to think outside the box a bit. I don't know. Questions for you. But it's something to think about. Just have a little think about. Anyway, I'm going to wind it down. I just wanted to come on and give a little talk. Agency got back to me. They got back to me yesterday. I've been put on the books, and they will be letting me know in the next couple of weeks what happens next. So it's going in the right direction. We're cooking with gas here. Well, we should be. Touch wood. So I just thought I'd update on that. Again, if you are new to the channel and this is your first video, make sure after this one ends you check out the other videos on the channel. Some of them are quite good. In particular the Lux Maxim one. That's really hit a nerve somewhere. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Hope everybody's doing okay. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace. Off.